Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on Utah's Independent Redistricting Commission. Joining us now live via Zoom is Nguyen Simpson, the Policy Director for the Alliance for a Better Utah. Nguyen, thanks for your time tonight and welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Rosie.
Nguyen, when Proposition 4 was passed in 2018, what were your hopes, or what did you hope the redistricting would be based on?
Yeah, so I think this whole push for reform around redistricting came because the people of Utah didn't want a repeat of what happened in 2011, like that clip you just played. And the last time that Utah conducted a redistricting process, there was, a big public process. There was a listening tour around the state. And then at the very last minute, the legislature, tossed out all those maps and instead adopted a map that came from a national Republican group. And people of all different political persuasions, both Republicans and Democrats, recognized that this was fundamentally unfair. And so I think everyone is really hopeful that this time around we can do better and we can get maps that truly reflect the people of Utah who live here and our communities and not the interests of, outside partisan groups.
Now, where do you draw the line between gerrymandering and not gerrymandering in a district? What does representation mean for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think when we talk about these terms like, representation or fairness, it can sound really abstract. But luckily, some very smart political scientists have come up with objective ways that you can measure these things. There are objective ways that you can measure what a fair district looks like, and what a district looks like when it's unfairly biased towards one side or the other.
Now, after Proposition 4 was voted on by a majority of Utahns, the legislature made a compromise on it, like they did with all the propositions of 2018. What do you think will be the effect on the compromise on redistricting?
Yeah, so that compromise watered down the bill. It diluted the proposition that was passed into law by Utah voters. And I think that underscores why that proposition was so necessary in the first place. It shows that ultimately the people of Utah can't fully trust the legislature when it comes to redistricting. And so we are very hopeful that this new independent commission can provide some meaningful transparency and accountability into the process, and help the legislature play fair when it comes to drawing new maps.
Now, the commission has been established. How do you feel about it, and what are you going to be watching for as they progress with their work?
Yeah, I think, speaking for myself and my team, I think we're all really enthusiastic about the appointments that have been made. We're eager to see this process start. We'll be watching closely, and we will be helping people get engaged and know how to provide input, because ultimately, good maps are just a reflection of our communities. And so people getting involved in the process is really the best way to ensure that we have maps that reflect all of us.
Now, one of the reasons why we're having this discussion tonight is because this is a process that the public can participate in. So we want to know, what do you recommend to the public, to the people who are watching tonight, on what they can do to make their voices heard?
Yeah, I would say for now, stay tuned for any announcements from the commission. We're waiting on that timeline as well and excited to see that. And in the meantime, I think it's also really important to talk to your friends and family members about why having fair maps and fair representation matters. Because the more people who are engaged and involved on this issue, the better for everyone.
Do you have any idea maybe which district we may see the most changes from? I mean, sometimes I wonder a lot about the 4th Congressional District. I want to hear, what do you think?
I mean, that's hard for me to speculate, but I know that a lot of the focus last time was on, growth on the Wasatch Front or this new fourth congressional district that was added. But when we think about gerrymandering in Utah, it's really a problem that we see across the entire state. And so I'm really encouraged by this new commission, and I'm hopeful that any new maps that are drawn, are drawn fairly across the state and really reflecting everyone.
All right, you've been hearing from Lauren Simpson, Policy Director of the Alliance for a Better Utah. Lauren, thanks for spending part of your Friday evening with us. It was great to have you back on the show.
Love to do it. Thanks, Rosie.